Have you, like me, been kind of astonished and even overwhelmed by Marcus Rashford's incredible campaigns around child poverty, ensuring 1.3 million vulnerable children could continue to access food, raising awareness of child hunger? His campaign got a record number of donations, 20 million I think, involved other players in what he's doing, and now his latest campaign is to make books accessible to children. In spite of this, and perhaps because of this, he's been the subject of a takedown piece in a British tabloid newspaper because, like, he owns houses and he's got a bank and he's trademarked his name and all that kind of stuff. And it makes me feel, it makes me wonder why there is such an appetite to destroy people in the public eye when they are trying to do something positive. This charge of hypocrisy is almost immediately levelled at anyone that's socially conscientious, as if there's a kind of rule in public life that if you're lucky enough to escape from poverty or be afforded a platform, you have to gratefully take that platform, keep your mouth shut and support the existing structures. Now, at the moment, certain sections of the media are very excited about Marcus Rashford and very supportive, but were Marcus Rashford to continue in his incredible, jaw-dropping campaigning, I imagine that even the more supportive voices in the media would begin to challenge him, i.e. there's a point where if you challenge enough vested interests, people turn on you. I am not to the scale that Marcus Rashford is experiencing, and I certainly wouldn't make a claim to have done anything as important or as significant as he's doing. But I remember when I was involved in some activism around an estate that was getting developed, the amount of wrath I incurred, the amount I was attacked in public, it was like exhausting. And when I sort of spoke about sort of politics more publicly, it was pretty astonishing, the onslaught that I experienced. What I feel like, you know, watching Marcus Rashford do this is it's so sort of admirable and exciting that somebody from a background where he's experienced the degree of poverty that he is now addressing publicly and attempting to amend, to see someone use their platform and their position so expertly is heartening and inspiring. And it's also in its own way affirming to see the commencement of attack that is like already occurring. What it made me feel is that I could do something small and local myself. In the area where I live, there's a charity called the One Can Trust. It's a food bank, and I want to support them in a small local way. I feel that if all of us, or as many of us as possible, support small local initiatives, it's a way of transferring Marcus Rashford's incredible and nationwide appeal into something that can be meaningful in a more local way. When I've been involved in doing big charity things, for example, I once did something for Comic Relief, a sort of a fundraiser for addiction charities, and we did a big gig at an arena and lots of famous people performed. And I remember, as I often feel in televised situations, that there was a sort of, and I don't mean this as a condemnation of the charity, I mean this in a sort of a personal way, that there was something that felt a bit abstract about it, almost like it was too big to conceive of, doing something that's on the TV in a big arena with all big famous people. It's hard to sort of conceptualise and come to terms with. But when I spoke to one of my friends' kids was there, who was like just 20 at that time, and I sort of spoke, and his dad, it was, asked me to talk about addiction with him. That felt, because the young lad was suffering, I felt very engaged and very present. Sometimes I think more local forms of, you know, call it whatever you want, philanthropy, charity, altruism, are very, very inspiring. For my own mental health, I think is significantly improved by looking for opportunities to be useful to other people. I think we can all be inspired by Marcus Rashford, and that more people can take the risk on whatever level we can to try our best to help other people and be of service and be willing to bear the response, which could be accusations of hypocrisy or criticisms about, like, you know, having access to a certain degree of privilege. But if we allow that to govern us, how's anything going to change? How's anything going to get done? I'm giving my attention and platform, such as it is, to One Can Trust in High Wycombe that help the surrounding area in South Bucks. They're a food bank, they distribute food, they're available, they're helping hundreds, thousands of people, hundreds of families. Let's have a look at this lovely video they showed me that they've made.
Every single item you donate goes to someone in your very own community who needs it most. Your food donations really do make an enormous difference. If you'd like to help, you can drop off food donations at one of our supermarket dump baskets, or find your nearest street hero for a more local drop point. If you have any questions, please call or email us. Thank you.
When I went down there, it was very, very inspiring, as a matter of fact, to be around people that are volunteering, people that are doing something proactive. I was reminded by them of the stigma that is attached to poverty, the shame that people feel when they have to use food banks. It's very, very sad to contemplate that in addition to the various forms of suffering associated with poverty, that there's a psychological suffering as well, and a sense of shame. They made it clear to me that they wanted anybody that needed it to use their resource. The various referral organisations are listed in the link below. Click on that to see who can refer you to that one. But obviously you might not live in the region of the One Can Trust, then you should look into the Trustful Trust, and in fact a list of other food banks are linked to as well. If all of us participate in our own small way, perhaps some of the stigmatisation around poverty, some of the condemnation around poverty, and even perhaps the sort of accusations of hypocrisy that people like Marcus Rashford have to deal with might somewhat abate. In a way, when someone does something heroic and beautiful such as he has done, all of us can take courage that in our own small way we can contribute to the cause of helping other people. Me, I'll focus on this One Can Trust. I'm available to help other people if that's, you know, what you're into, if you think I can be any use to you. But my sense is that there is more value in each of us doing what we can to help one another, being tuned into that. And those of us that need the service and help of organisations such as this one can do so without shame, knowing that anybody can find themselves in these circumstances. It's not a moral issue to be poor, it's a social and cultural issue. And perhaps the reason someone like Marcus Rashford is attacked is because, to some degree, people are aware that if we continue to awaken to values of kindness and charity and sharing, ultimately very powerful interests will end up being challenged. So my little contribution is the One Can Trust. I'm going to be supporting them in whatever way I can, and I'll be really excited to hear what you're doing, and if I can lend any assistance to any of you in what you're doing, I'm happy to do that. Meanwhile, Marcus Rashford, what a guy, in spite of the fact that he may have a house.